Hello, dear folks. Welcome to the East-West Show. Jack Shaw is hosting with lots of pride. At G&E TV, we try every time when there's no explosive big news, we try to put some information necessary for our audiences when we believe that they need to know what's happening and what is that we are doing, and so on and so forth. Now, I often ask myself one thing. And we do everything. When we do everything, we talk about politics, we're talking about election, we're talking about wars, we're talking about the money, we're talking about education. For everything, our strongest excuse is that we're doing it for the future. We're doing it for our next generation. Question is, does our next generation really agree with us? How do they think about what we are doing? Are we doing things that we are needed to do for the next generation? Or are we doing the things in the way that our next generation would want us to do? I never had a chance to sit down here to talk to young people, right? And by the way, this is my first show with a 21-year-old Edward Town, a student of film directing of Santa Monica College. Welcome, Edward, to the show.
Thank you for having me, Jack.
All right, very good. Well, you and I, for several times, talking about politics.
Yep.
We talk about history. We talk about United States. We talk about China. We talk about money. We talk about everything. So that's why I decided you're the one probably, by looking at the age, you really represent your age group.
Yeah.
And by talking to you, I know that you know something, at least something,
Well, I
right?
certainly hope so.
Very good. Okay, can you say louder for the record, please?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, sure, very good. Okay.
Probably.
So, do you think what we are doing, if I give you an overall picture, about how many percent, 50%, 70%, 75%, whatever percent, you believe that we're doing for you?
Well, I believe probably maybe close to 80%.
Close to 80%.
Close to 80%, yeah.
Okay, very good, very good. Close to 80%. What are those 80% that we do that you believe that we're doing for you, your generation?
I mean, different culture, different system, different ways of supporting the next generations. From my perspective, I'm from definitely Chinese family, and from my side, of course, my family do a lot more than my fellow students, especially
Your age?
American student, yeah.
Okay.
For my age, I mean, that's a really interesting question.
It's a really good question,
It's
huh?
a really good question because if we
Okay.
go into this,
Now, probably I should pick up the subject one by one, or area one by one, that I check with you if you agree with this, right? Okay. Now, for example, we are talking about global warming.
right,
We're talking about, for that, we're putting lots of efforts in the area, money included, of environmental protection. Do you agree with this?
yeah, of course, definitely. Environment protection is one of the most important things. Actually, I read this article by Michael Pollan just not so long ago about
Michael Pollan, yeah.
Michael Pollan, yeah, about I think it was the nitrogen cycle on Earth, because we start using fertilizer, basically electrified Earth, and then release unnecessary amount of nitrogen release into the air and start.
Okay.
But it's not. We're trying to do something different from the past, and I think we're just pushing everything too fast in the past century, and now
All right.
it's kind of being pushed to the edge, and we're trying to return to the normal, and it's really hard, but
Okay.
really people are doing it on the right.
All right, good. All right, okay. I'm so glad as one of the 80% in the areas that your generation and our generation, who are the ones who claim the big credit of doing for next generation, incoming generation, right? What other area, for example, natural resources, coal mining or stuff like that, okay, and or say petroleum, okay, And are we saving? Do you think we are saving those for you, or are we exhausting it?
We're not saving those. Those energy are gonna be gone anyway.
Mm-hmm.
What we should do is to try to invent some new form technology, like say alcohol from corn, and which can be used to fuel cars. And if we're thinking about saving the coal for next generation, it's never gonna work. We're not using some money from 200 years ago, because saving those money is never gonna help the next generation.
I see.
The same thing goes to the natural resources we're using. Let's say coal. Coal is a big one. There are a lot of debate about coal. I mean, the reason coal is a center of politics today, it's because it's a livelihood to a lot of people. But other than that, I don't see any more purpose for the future. And oil on the other side, it's linked to the modern economy, so which is a little bit different, slightly different. And then whoever controls the petroleum basically control the industry, not just in the oil industry, but also in plastic manufacturing. So in that way, it's contemporary, but we cannot say it's going to be useful for the future generations.
Thank you very much. And for the next area, we probably can say that from your generation, what I can hear is that we are doing it the right way, but not good enough, right? Not well enough, right? Okay, now, as you might have realized, I lay down those two baby questions just for you to relax. Now the question might get harder, a little harder. You're okay with that? You ready with that? Okay, now, politically, we've been talking about the politics, in this country ever since I could remember things, right now. And I believe last time I checked with you, it was in the kind of middle of the election.
Yep.
Right?
It's November.
And we were talking a lot about many of the extreme issues, extreme left or extreme right issues. Do you think on issues so far, the laws we're holding on, for example, the same-sex marriage, stands for your next generation?
Yeah.
Your generation, not your next generation. Your own generation.
My own generation, I believe gay marriage should definitely be legal. And a lot of restrictions we have today are based on traditional thinking, such as religion, and in the Constitution, they're supposed to be separated from the church, to be separated from the government, but we cannot change that because the Western culture is based on Christianity. But to me, from my side, I believe same-sex marriage should be legal. It's their job. It's their whatever they want to. It's not government's job to do anything to protect someone or simply just to be on the way to prevent someone from having freedom, like marriage. And actually, maybe a little bit extreme, but from what I believe is government should not even be anywhere close to the marriage situation or any issue close to marriage. If you want to have polygamy, go ahead. If you want to have monogamy, as long as it's voluntary, it should be allowed.
It looks to me not a government issue, it's a politics issue.
Yeah, it's politics.
And also, talking about government though, you're talking about now, it is the justice system. It not even belonging to the administration system. And I believe that you heard about the new nomination that is confirmed to the judges, to the federal judges, right?
Yeah.
Right, on the bench now. He's starting his day one today, right now. Lots of people talking about that over the judgment, because there is a case. There's a case over a cake, over a same-sex marriage for the wedding cake to be denied. There's a lawsuit, the case being held, but being postponed for the 9th judge. Now that we have, where do you think it will go?
Personally, I support Judge Court, of course. I'm Republican. And on the cake issue, that's a really
okay, very good.
On the cake issue, that's a very interesting question because I was following that lawsuit since last year. I believe if the shop owner didn't want to serve gay marriage or any gay customers, it's their right to refuse. The whole issue started with I think a Hobby Lobby first, Hobby Lobby case 2 years ago, and then what happened next was some people used the Civil Rights Act as a part of the basic foundation students, saying that it's unlawful for someone to refuse service to someone else based on bias. And to me, I think it's okay. For
So,
the cake
do
owner.
you
Because
think the shop owner, the bakery, has the right to refuse service to anyone they choose?
I think so.
not
They
to?
should.
Right, they should,
They
right?
should.
Okay. Do you believe that the couple, the gay married couple, they have a right to be served?
They do too, but it's depending on whoever's serving. And from my perspective, it's okay for someone to refuse service to someone else. The problem is that's very stupid. And if we're living in a real capitalist society, those behavior will be phased out because people are going to stop shopping there.
Okay.
And people can organize whatever way they want.
I
They
have
can
a
boycott.
question.
Yeah.
I have a question. Unless they want to make a political point, my take is that if they are refused by bakery 1, they could always try bakery B.
Yeah.
Right? Bakery C, bakery D, goes on and on. There is always a one, could be a one,
Right.
that provides service.
That's true.
Unless they are making a political point. So now, to the point though, is that point accepted by your generation as a point?
I mean, the political point from the cake owner, right?
Yeah,
Like
the
shop
still
owner.
cake thing. Yeah.
I mean, I see that as a valid point because it's part of free speech, basically. So, which means it's valid. I'm not saying that it's sound. And the two
No.
years ago,
Is the couple suing the bakery? The bakery owner is not the one who launched the whole thing. So I mean the couple.
I mean-
do the couples have a point?
oh, it started with bakery owners, and now the aggressor. Now come to the aggressor. Now it's the gay couples. They're trying to do something, trying to make that statement, saying that it's unconstitutional. It's their right too. They can do whatever they want to. But my issue is government should not take an act, should not take a stance on those kind of things. It should be up to people to decide.
And let the dispute go on and on in the Supreme Court?
Unless this is going to do any kind of disruption within the administration system, we have to do it.
Okay, very good.
As long as it's not going
All
to do
right,
that
good,
way,
good.
it's all right, whatever they want to.
After all, while talking to Edward, there's 1 minute I may think that he's a kid, and the second minute, oh my God, he's no longer a kid. He's 21 years old, a student from Santa Monica College, majoring in film and directing, and there's very promising young people who raise a lot of books and who knows the news on a day-to-day, hour-to-hour basis, and a very kind of a profound, I believe, that I really caught myself in surprise when talking to him when points are being displayed. So stay with us. We'll continue. My next segment might be a little harder than this one. Be prepared. We'll be right back, please. Hello, my dear friends. Welcome back to the interesting discussion. The discussion, well, we have a slogan that we work for our next generation. With or without it said on the lips, we know that we are working for our kids. Be it your own kids, your neighbor's kid, whatever, they together stand for the future of our nation. And we have a good reason, good excuse saying that what we do is for our future, for our next generation. Question is, do people of the next generation, or does the next generation as a whole accept us or give us the credit of doing what we are doing? So I never got a chance until I met with Edward Tam, a student for Santa Monica College for film directing. Talking, I came to realize that this is kind of a young man. If he doesn't represent his generation, it might be some kind of a very, very an exception, right? If he does, it is my problem that I never realized myself. I'm in a time when our young people grow this fast already that I fail to recognize. Anyway, putting together, that's today's show. I want to check with him one by one. All right, taking him as a representative of this generation about the issues that we have we scratch our head about. Okay, now, we're moving on into the second segment, finding out those political issues. Okay, during the campaign, I know you're a Republican, you're a young Republican. Thank you for being that, and thank you for starting your partisanship at this early age. You're probably one of the youngest Republican members, right?
Probably.
Okay, now.
Yeah, I mess.
Okay, now, I'm not going to ask you why you chose to be a Republican rather than, right? I'm just checking with you, and about our politics so far, okay, with the things being argued, being discussed about, going left or right and left or right. I really want to know that are we representing you or are we doing for the benefit of you? For example, the wall, the Trump wall, the border wall, call it this way. Do you think we represent you?
Oh no. Oh no. That
No?
wall is, we have this discussion in school like 2-3 times already.
Yeah, of course.
It's one of the most useless wall ever because people can use tunnel, and most like what people say undocumented immigrants here are coming here by airplane and just stay here over past their, actually they came here legally and then just overstay, and so the wall's not going to solve any kind of problem. It's just a waste of money.
Uh-huh.
Maybe if you're trying to use that way to bounce up the GDP a little bit, but it's not going to do a long-term change.
You're talking about the construction
probably,
of the wall
yeah,
itself,
and the construction
right?
of course going to increase GDP, but that's
Okay.
not going to be something that's sustainable for the future.
And it was said on the news yesterday in the morning when I was on my way in, says as the cheapest estimation so far is going to be 15 or 16 billion.
Yep.
And some say it's going to double that. So it's going to be
Likely.
huge money. And yet, once again, you're not talking about a real wall, a solid, a concrete wall. You're talking about quote-unquote wall, right? So, in other words, being a Republican, though, you're not in support of the wall.
No.
And in other words, the wall concept does not represent the benefit of your generation.
I don't believe it does.
Okay. You don't believe that?
I don't believe
Okay,
that.
very good. Okay. The next issue about Obamacare. Do you think the push of overturning Obamacare represent your generation as being a Republican yourself?
That's a very interesting question.
Getting hotter and hotter, right?
Honestly, the problem with Obamacare is, as a lot of people, like they support Obamacare, but how many of them actually benefit from Obamacare? Some of them. The problem we have, maybe that's going to get a lot of hate, but the reason we need health insurance is because our medicine is too expensive. Our Medicare is too expensive. And the reason for that, what I believe, it's because the pharmaceutical companies are being, basically it's unruly. They can grow whatever the way they want to. They can spend, used to be most of the income they have, they put into researches. Not only about 20 to 30% of income put into research, and most money they put on advertisement and then backdoor treatment.
Okay.
So those things are not healthy.
Are you not happy with Obamacare, or are you not happy with the medical care system as a whole?
Because okay, now we come back to the medical system. So if we have government basically paying for insurance, we're paying for insurance, of course, but governments are allowing those kind of behavior because, you know, like insurance company pay about a third of the price that we pay for the same pill. And that's why they can actually make some money from it. And then the same goes to government as well. They're not going to scam government. So they put the price on people. If you don't have insurance, then bad luck to you. And now, if we have government paying for insurance, which means we're basically allowing this kind of behavior, and now it become normalized and legalized, and then you can never have it back down. You know, you can just, what's going to lead to is a greater debt to the American government, and then you're paying more tax, and the medicine will never be cheaper. It's going to be a steady increase in the price. So
In other words, you are not happy with the system.
I'm not happy with the government.
The
paying for
system
this.
that the government paying for the cost of medical care.
Right.
And who you think should be paying?
What I believe is to be up to private companies. if you have insurance companies, private companies, those things, they have competition there. So they're going to fight for the best. And when the government starts stepping in, the government's always the big guy. It's going to be really hard for this kind of companies to be healthy.
I know.
And
But this conversation this discussion right now turned to be kind of like more complicated than I thought. I was originally asking you, are you not happy with the system, or are you not happy with Obamacare? So far, it sounds to me that you are not happy with both of them.
Because Obamacare is basically, in some way, helping this kind of unhealthy system to grow. And that's a problem. So they're linked together. It's not a separate problem. But
they are together is linked together, linked to each other, right? And of course, President Trump is promoting his plan to overturning it. Do you think he has a plan or not?
No.
And why he failed the first and second try?
Okay, so people usually call up on the Obamacare light. Basically, they change a lot of policies, but it's the same thing, just different packaging. It's not going to help. The reason I believe they did this is because the House Republicans, when they realized it's so hard to repeal Obamacare and the cost is so high, so instead they just decided to change the name or something. Let's actually start with Rand Paul. Rand Paul was suggesting maybe we can fix Obamacare instead of repeal Obamacare, because the cost for repealing it's going to be a lot higher than fixing it. And back then, a lot of Republicans didn't agree with him, so they decided to go basically, we're going to make this new pact, and we're going to this new act, and everything going to be changed. We're going to have this kind of like a whole new Trump care, and then turns out to be Obamacare, because they realized it's really hard to change it. Something similar to how Thomas Jefferson did too.
Forget all the cares. Forget all the cares. In your mind of that, this is the incoming generation. What kind of a system that you are dreaming for?
Well, my dream is never going to be true.
No, I mean the medical care system.
I hope we can have a cheaper medicine, and from this kind of healthy competition, not the one we have. And the government should be taking care, but not too close to the industry. Should be further distance itself from how people live their life and how people take care of their health. And people should be, honestly, more care about themselves, because I know a lot of people are reckless about their health. So maybe from the education, we can start teaching people to do things differently, instead of when they grow up and themselves.
You're saying to teach people to be responsible for their own health.
It's the education system.
Both conceptually and financially.
Right.
Am I right? Okay, very good. Now, my last thing for this segment, I'm asking you about the other issues about immigration reform. So President Donald Trump has a big plan in mind, only we do not know yet, about the 11 million people who are undocumented, said, quote unquote, Obama didn't have a plan to do anything. Obviously, he had done nothing. Now, with Donald Trump, even though we do not know what he has in mind, but we hear a lot that he will do something. What do you speculate that Donald Trump, as a president of the United States, will deal with 11 million in his hands during his term?
It's going to be hard. It's going to be really hard. The reason behind it is because, first thing, they are the primary laborers in the state. Especially we live in California. We know how many people we're using every day, and they are, most of them we know that they're not going to be documented. That's why they're doing certain jobs. And that's a system. But currently, I haven't read anything about what Trump's going to actually do about it, because right now Trump is always saying that we can prevent someone from coming in, but never said what about the ones out here.
With the in.
And then people said there are going to be a lot of deportation, which happened, and that's what also they declared to be sanctuary cities. I'm sorry. Yeah, but those things happen in Obama era too. It's not something entirely new.
So what's the way out? It has to have something like you have a bank holding lots of water, right? And when the water level is so high, you really have to do something to diverse it, right? So what is the way of a diversification in Trump's hand? Do you think, I mean, in your generation, do you think that's really a problem or is not a problem at all?
It is a problem.
It's
about immigration reform. And when we talk about reform, it's not about like Democrats usually say that undocumented immigrants. What they really are is illegal immigrants because there are separation between what is legal and what is not legal. And if they come here illegally, then they are, by definition, illegal immigrants. But the problem is how can we make those people be legal easier? Because a lot of people I know from my school too.
Good.
That's the thing. If we don't give people a way out, we're basically creating criminals. The same goes to marijuana and a lot of drugs, right? And marijuana laws. Let's say there's a restriction on marijuana. Marijuana is basically healthy. It's not. It's not as at least not as dangerous as people usually think they are. And when governments are restricting on marijuana, they're not doing anything. They're just creating more criminals. And the same thing goes to illegal immigrants. We're not saying that they're all criminals, but if we don't give them a way out, then they're always going to be illegal.
All right, very good. That's a very good comment. We got to stop here. When we come back, we'll just exactly go deeper from that point on. I'm really all ears listening to this young man representing this incoming generation, only 21 years old. Can you believe that? A kid. 1 minute, a kid, 1 minute. Oh my God, he talks like a philosopher. So stay with us, please. Hello, my dear friends. Today, Jack Xiao, your host, is having a good time with a young friend. Young friend, 21 years old, a college student of Santa Monica, majoring in film directing. Oh, by the way, how many years to go?
Oh, actually, I changed my major to philosophy.
Yeah? Okay, very good.
2 more years.
Okay, 2 more years. Okay, now, we really have a big slogan that we do everything for our next generation, at least for incoming generation, for posterity, so to speak. Yet, what we do now, are they really in the needs of our future? Are they really the necessity for our incoming generation? So I get a chance today to check with him, a 21-year-old student of Santa Monica College for film directing, to check to make sure that we are doing the right thing, or at least we are doing things in the right way. Now, we came at the end of last segment to a point that when you're talking about you have 11 million of undocumented immigrants, the solution, according to this young man, well, it's so simple. Document them. That's it. Is that what you're saying?
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily?
Not necessarily.
Okay, I may stretch your mind. Go, say it again, please.
I mean, it's about how can we give them easier how can we give them easier citizenship or green card.
Yeah, document them.
But it's not simply just document them. Because simply document them, it's making them all legal. And that's not the intent. The intention is to make sure they want to actually become a part of it. Because this argument I had, it's about ranch owners. So some people, they own ranch. And when you own the ranch, you be proud of it. You want to pass it to your future generation. You love the ranch. You're gonna improve the ranch. And some people, maybe they're just hired hand or just decide to live on a ranch for no reason for like a couple of years, and they don't really like the ranch. Or in some way, they're just trying to get food from the ranch. They're not trying to improve it. Now, the first kind of people are the ones who are going to be citizens and who are going to be the people of America. And the second kind or third kind, they're just going to be the passengers, and they will never stay. And what we want to do is we want to improve this nation. And that way, it's like you're owning a part of a ranch. But if people don't have that kind of belonging or sense of belonging, then it's not the case. And a lot of people I know in the state, because they want to improve their life, a true story. So I have a friend, his family came here illegally back then. Was like 15 years ago. He was born here. The reason they came here was they want to create this kind of new environment, a better environment for his children, for their children to live in, and then that's why they came to the state. And the parents are still undocumented until today.
The parents.
The parents. Their children are American. He's like 15, 16 years old now. And they would never want, they never wanted to become American. All they want to do is to create a better future for their future generation. But to them, they still love Mexico and so want to go back there.
So they became ranch owners?
No, they're not all ranch owners. They're more like the parents of the ranch owners. And now the problem with that is, if they don't want to become a citizen, why do we have to make them citizens?
Give them a way out. Send them home.
Give them a way out. It's going to be a little bit tricky on that part.
Okay.
So right now, from what I've heard, it's basically if you came here illegally and if you want to be legal, it's going to take a process longer than 9 years. And what they usually do is...
Okay, probably we should soften the question by asking, I should re-ask the question, in your mind, representing next generation, do you believe, or do you buy the concept that we should have a tighter border control, or we should lose it up?
As a Republican?
As a Republican,
tighter.
yes.
I believe tighter border control.
You want to tighten
yes,
border control?
Definitely.
Oh, okay, all right.
But
what if people say to you that, you know, this land did not used to belong to America in history? I believe that you touch quite a bit of history, right?
Yep.
Take California, for example. It wasn't U.S. land, right? We won that only through war. Right? New Mexico, for example. Arizona, for example. Houston, Texas, for example, right? Those were not our lands. Now, I'm not saying that we should go back to history, get land back to them. I'm saying that when you took somebody's land becoming yours own, you have to recognize the fact that people have been dwelling there for hundreds, if not thousands of years. Their connections, their bond already there. So, and that gives us a definition, a new definition. Our kind of border control should be different from, like, say, Japan. Like, say any of the European countries. Do you agree with me, or do you think that makes a point that your generation would get serious to think about?
That's a problem here, because it's a philosophy policy that we usually compare something that happened before to today, and they are not necessarily the same. And U.S. is different from European nations, and U.S. is different from Japan, of course. And the same way, U.S. is different from Mexico. U.S. is different from Canada. So every place is different. Yes, we have recognized that people live here long before we came here, long before the U.S. came here, long before the U.S. was even here. And the problem with that is how far do you want to trace back to?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and that's one thing. The second thing is...
Well, that's a good point.
Yeah.
That I want to listen to.
Right. So one thing people say, U.S. is a land of free, right? People used to come here, all of them just come here and start working here, live here, right? It changed in 20th century. Right before World War I, it was a great time for globalization. That's the peak of globalization. Actually, we're still recovering to that time, right before World War I, leading up to that point, but we're not quite close yet. And you can see a lot more culture kind of exchange in America, and that was a wonderful time, of course. What happened next was World War I happened, and people started distrusting each other, and then World War II right after that, and then we have this bi-hegemonial power in Cold War with Russia and U.S. So basically, like, people started deciding which side they want to stand in, and now that's the time we realize, okay, so the border is going to be a problem. We need to protect, we need to secure our border, or they're going to be more and more threat to the nation. Especially today, you see the terrorism. There are, if I remember correct, there was like 3 in the past month in Europe. Actually 2 in Russia, 3 in Russia.
Okay, more than that already.
So But definitely, there's a problem here because some of them are actually Russian, some of them are actually Swedish and Norwegian. So we're not saying that, but the problem with that is it's different time, and border need to be secured. What happen if we have just free roaming?
In other words, I follow you. What you're saying is that we shall form a border concept, a brand new border concept, to cope along with the time, because our time has changed.
That's correct. Yeah.
Right? Very good. Anyway, I agree with one point that the concept, even thinking about into history, talking about the land where it belonged to, that concept has to change because time has changed.
Right.
Am I right? Okay, I take that as a reference. So today, my dear audience, this is a discussion that when I started, I feel that I was kind of making fun. But when I'm deep in it, when I actually get into it, I started really thinking about different ways. With me is my good friend, young friend, Edward Town. I knew him since he was little like this, and all these years he grows very fast, far faster than I could catch. And I found out in this young man, even 21 years old, by the way, a Republican, young Republican already, a student at Santa Monica College, film directing, his major. He sounds like a student for political science rather than filmmaking. All right, good. And when we come back after this segment, I'm going to ask you even some harder questions, such as the attack to Syria. You will feel comfortable if I ask those kind of questions?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, you will, right? Okay, very good. And we'll be right back, my dear audiences, please. Hello, dear folks. Welcome back to the show. Today is really a kind of a special show, different from any of the shows that I did in the past. It's a discussion about serious issues of this country, about our generation, yet with somebody who supposed to be, looks like, too young to be sitting here, yet while talking into it, we know this young man really has something. Really know something. And it is Edward Town I'm talking about, a student of Santa Monica College, majoring in film directing, who sounds to me more a student for political science rather than film, right? Okay, now, we touch base from baby questions, getting a little harder, on and on. Now we're talking about those big questions, okay? I gave him a shadow already, say, hey, we're going to ask you some bigger questions, okay? The big question to start with for this segment is that, where do you stand with the recent bombing to Syria airbase?
I see the reasons behind it, but I personally do not support it.
You do not support it?
No.
Okay, tell me why.
The reason, U.S. have been bombing Syria for a while, but this is the first time U.S. decided to bomb, not to any Malaysian group in Syria, but direct to the Syrian government, the first time. And personally, it is declared war. I mean, it's not yet, but you can take us that one. I mean, think about back then. It happened several times actually. This is not the first time U.S. has done something like that, but recent history is the first time, definitely. And I hope it doesn't go above and beyond from that point, because the reason is Russia is the one solely backing the Syrian government. And this kind of act is going to be seen as kind of show of force, or in some way a denouncement to the tie between Russia and Syria, even though there's not a formally one. But it should be taken very seriously.
Okay. And it is quite a surprise to me you, as a Republican, declared Republican, not in support with Donald Trump's decision to bomb Syria. I see where you stand. My next question is this: what do you think? What do you think we shall do to somebody who applied gas on his own people and killed that many, including women and children? Are we just sitting there relaxed doing nothing?
No.
As the leader of this free world, what do we do?
No, we should do something.
Yeah,
But
like what?
bombing the airport is not going to do anything, since it's not going to stop.
I mean, the
people from gassing.
airport, the very airport where the gas was taking off, where the gassing of people started. So, does that make a point?
But they have
Do you?
more weapon in other places,
Mm-hmm.
so it's not going to do anything tangible to the situation. It's just going to do some, maybe alter the result a little bit. But the most direct way, I believe, is to think about how can we help the Syrian people. Either you have to put the boots on the ground and really do something, but that's going to lead to another Iraq or
Yeah,
Afghanistan.
putting the boots on the ground. We learned enough lessons from that.
And now, if we just simply bump them, it's not going to do anything.
All
It's
right, all
just
right.
simple-
Now,
it's
now
just-
I came to understand, to still see, I mean, to see in more details that you are not against the fact that the U.S. gets involved, but you are not happy with the way of bombing. Suppose if U.S. sends some boots to the ground, though, that could be something that you think could be considered. Am I right? I'm trying to read your mind.
It's actually a bad example. Sorry. So my point is basically, I believe bombing Syria needs more consideration than what Trump had back then. There's no congressional approval, and he just went straight to bombing. There's going to be a lot of relation tie being cut from that decision. And there's currently thinking about who's fighting ISIS. We still have certain government in some way fighting ISIS, correct? And now you're basically bombing ally, because we all know who's the bad people there. And of course, gassing someone, it should be condemned. But
Okay, very good.
more maybe different
Okay.
different means, different ways.
Okay, yours could be a take. By what extent do you think your concept, where you stand, represent the majority of your people your age? By what extent?
We believe that we should help people in need.
All right.
That's the part.
All right. Okay, that's a take. And then next step, lots of people say, after bombing Syria, which has received lots of applause, right, by people,
Some people, yeah.
by lots of people, it should be North Korea. So where is your take to North Korea?
It's too late. North
Too
Korea is
late?
too late. Yeah.
Too late?
Too late.
Oh.
I was talking to my mom yesterday about North Korea. It just came from nowhere. It's like tumor. It used to be a benign tumor, but you didn't stop it. Now it started growing, and now you realize, oh, it's too late. But what can you do with it?
Cut it off.
Cut it off is going to be really hard, because right now, from what I have heard, is they have at least 8 warheads, and they're going to increase to 100 within 2 years period. So they're going to have more than 100 nuclear warhead, and it doesn't matter how far. It doesn't have to reach to the state, because they're capable of firing a nuclear warhead to anywhere close, and it's a rogue nation, to be honest.
Suppose if U.S. bombed North Korea, will you be in support with?
No, that's not going to be. That's not going to help anything.
No.
That's not going to, because the first thing, China's still back in North Korea, more or less.
Yeah. Do you think how do you comment about the meeting of last week between Donald Trump, President of the United States, and Xi Jinping of China?
Well, it's
getting bigger and bigger.
It's getting bigger and bigger. We don't know what's behind it, because we don't know what their actual agenda is about. Right now, it's just basically, like a friendly gesture. You become president, we visit you, and that kind of thing. But I believe they should have discussed a little bit further than the public knowledge. That definitely is, because currently think about Russia's situation, and then we have North Korea, we have Syria. China has play in all three parts. China's close ties with Russia, China's close tie with North Korea, and China's investment with the Syrian government. And back in 2012, I believe China and Russia were the two nations did not vote and they did not use veto power when the UN put on sanction against Syria. So it definitely, you can see this kind of tie there. And when China visits America, there's going to be something more to discuss about. But
okay, when talking about U.S. and China, U.S.-China, we focus ourselves to the relationship between U.S. and China. We could let the rest of the world just, rest a little bit, right? We're talking about U.S. and China. How do you at this generation, especially in the fact that you are being from a Chinese-American origin, how do you think this will go as a tendency?
My friends, I was talking to my friend, we graduated from Naval Academy, and he had a different view, and we had this kind of discussion. It's about this kind of post-Cold War bi-hegemonial power. It used to be Russia and America. Now the power spectrums are shifting. It's shifting in favor of China. So now it's like China and U.S. I don't see the two have direct conflict of interest.
Okay.
Of course, in some way, the control over the
there are differences.
the Asian
I agree.
nations, because for that reason, but they do not have direct conflict between the two. And why not work together? Honestly?
Okay.
Why not together?
Why not working together? Very good, very good. And Edward, I should say thank you very much. And this is the first time, it is not the first time you and I talking, but it's the first time where you and I talking in the show, right?
Yeah.
And we're really talking about giving our audiences a chance of knowing how this generation, incoming generation, think of their things, right? And I'm very sorry, I had for quite a bit looked down upon this generation. Now it is quite a surprise. It's an eye-opener to me. Oh my God, they are really no more kids, no longer kids, right? Thank you for doing that, and thank you for sharing your thoughts. And I would like to hear my audiences after this show. Send your emails to jack@edimediainc.com to give us your feedback. How about if we later get some other young man, young girl, whatever, and to hear from them so that we shall adjust our course while we're saying once again, we're working for our next generation. We want to make sure they're happy with what we do now. So, Edward, to wrap it up, I give you 30 seconds to speak your mind, like you're facing people like my age, pops, moms, and uncles, whoever. Say, please do not do what that you do not want. You can say, please do not make me do my homework, okay, like that kind of thing. Yeah, so what do you want to say them prevent you doing?
give your children a space to grow.
Okay, give your kids a space to grow. All right, very good. That's a very thorough sum up. Okay, my dear audiences, thank you very much. And thank you, Edward Tam. Thank you. All right.